What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, you've seen, well, previously I've replaced the oil pressure sending unit in this old truck of mine, and now I am changing the oil. And that is what it is, you know, it's just an old truck, but it's 2008 Z71 off-road vortec max. Man, what a mouthful. Or as I've dubbed it, the new body style street truck. So this thing has got the 6.0 liter all aluminum LS V8 in it, which is essentially the same platform they used in the GTO and a couple of the other performance sedans that were not 5.3. I think the GTO now, I don't remember if it was, I think the engine options were for V8, I think the 6 liter, and then I think they had one other, like a 6.1 liter or 6.2 liter, I don't know, don't quote me on it. I never was a big GTO person. So I'm changing the oil on this old truck and looking to see if I can figure out where my class 2 oil leak is at, which I don't know, it might be. I've never been under this truck. Filter housing leaking. It's puddles, but it doesn't drip. It just hangs out there. It might be a rear main seal. If you could see there, it's puddling there. Could be an oil pan gasket, or it just could simply just be the oil filter. I was subject to believe it was the oil pressure sending unit leaking, but that's not the case. Now, it's not dripping on my brand new driveway, but it is actively leaking somewhere. I just don't know where. So anyway, if you're here watching this, you know how to do an oil change. So just a little update on today's progress and moving on. Alrighty, well, I'll be back. Well, cardboard there to protect my new driveway because I don't have a sealer on it yet. Well, actually looks pretty good. See the drips of oil there? I could have landed on my brand new concrete. That would have sucked. I'd hate to stain my new driveway with motor oil. Being a mechanic and all, you know, probably wouldn't look very attractive. Dribble, dribble, dribble. So I got this fancy drain pan over there, and I was going to use it. I got to thinking about something. It's got a very shallow well the oil lands in, and I can only imagine that the shit would splatter everywhere. So, no. I don't want it spraying oil all over my place. So I kind of like to keep the driveway clean, looking fairly new for quite a while. I've only been able to park on it now for, this would be the 5th day that I've been able to use it. I say 14 days, so I waited 14 days, and yeah, well, about time to put the drain plug back in. Alrighty then, well, here we go. Just a little bit. That's all. Don't want to over tighten the drain plug. 1, you can make it leak. 2, it's an oil pan. You could strip the threads. And 3, you can round off the head of the bolt because it's just cheap metal. Now, for the oil filter. If you don't have one of these, get one. Okay. So the way this thing works, you put it on extension. I got a little adapter on here because my extensions are 1/2-inch drive, female to 3/8 male. I'm buying the Harbor Freight. They work pretty good. You can put a little more stuff on them. You can an average 3/8 drive extension. And then you just hook it to your ratchet. Put your ratchet end back up. And I'll put you over here. Kind of see what I'm dealing with right there. Move the bucket out of the way just a little bit. This is an LS, and this oil filter is a little recessed. So sometimes it can be a little difficult to get anything on it, especially a regular standard oil filter wrench. Dribble, dribble, dribble. And it's going to leak some more oil. Oil filter looks pretty good. The O-ring is there. This is an AC Delco PF48E. That's the factory oil filter manufacturer. So chances are the last time this thing had the oil changed was at General Motors. Or somebody like me that just believes in using OEM parts as much as possible. Now I got oil all over my hands. Okay, so now the most important part of changing your oil. I can't see it from this angle, but we'll let you look while I look and see. Here, you want to verify that there's no rubber O-ring stuck to that oil filter housing, because that could cause you a problem and even possibly engine failure. Because if there's two oil filter gaskets up there, what can happen is it will push oil out between the two and it'll leak oil, and it'll run all of the oil out of your engine before you even know it. And the next thing you know, you're buying an engine and you're mad at the last guy that changed your oil, whether it be you or the guy at Walmart. Always check to make sure there's no extra O-rings on the full oil filter housing adapter. Oh yeah, I'm getting old. I lost my hat. My hair's a mess. The sad part about it is I've had the oil change laying in the back seat of this truck now for 2 months. And if I remember correctly, it is a 2.5 quart, 6.5 quart system, not including the oil cooler. Now, in lieu of being a mechanic, I'm not going to call myself an automotive technician because I'm just a mechanic. Wicks filters. They're a decent product. It's a good filter. I've never had any issues out of them at all. They do their job. I mean, it's an oil filter. They do not have cheap filaments in these. They're it's a good filter. If you're gonna pinch pennies, you know, you can buy a good quality oil filter for a little less money than the AC Delco. And I'm not so sure that AC Delco is really any worse or any better. So we'll take a little bit of used motor oil on your finger. Lubricate that O-ring with it. Now, there's a lot of debate in the automotive field about priming your oil filter. Here's the thing. In certain applications, priming your oil filter is a good idea. But in most cases, it's really not necessary. I've done this a lot. And I started out in life priming the oil filter. You know, that's what my dad taught me. He's like, well, you got to fill the oil filter up or it'll cavitate the lifters and blah, blah, blah. No, it doesn't. Because, for one, the oil pump fills this first. And then it pushes oil through your engine. And I have yet to blow a motor up because I didn't prime the oil filter. Now, if I read the technical service bulletins on, like, say, a turbocharged engine, there's a lot of those engines that require you to prime your oil filter, or it will cavitate the turbo and cause excessive turbo bearing wear. I personally think that this filter should be a little bigger, but that's what the parts guide called for, so. Never over tighten your oil filter. It can be a pain in the butt. So make sure when you get done, you remove everything, including your oil pan drain bucket, out from underneath the truck, and then put back a piece of cardboard under the oil filter and the drain plug. The reason behind this is I got oil on the driveway. It's officially broke in. So we keep the cardboard there to protect your driveway. So if you start it up and the oil filter drips or leaks, and you know, you over tighten your drain plug, or you didn't get something tight enough, or you over tighten your oil filter or whatever, and it caused it to leak, when you start it up and put pressure to the oil filter, if it's going to leak, it will leak immediately. So having said that, I put the piece of cardboard under there. The piece of cardboard will catch the oil if in the event that a leak happens. And then when I'm done, I can just pick the piece of cardboard up and throw it away, and I don't have to put oil dry on my brand new driveway. Or you can't keep track of an oil funnel, you can take your first quart of oil, carefully pour it in the engine. Don't spill it all over the place because it makes a nasty mess, and you get it on the exhaust manifold or header or whatever, it smokes a lot. So you take this, and you take a box knife, and you cut the oil jug and you have an instant funnel. And this opening right here just happens to be the same size as this, so it works. Now you want to position this in the way you're going to pour, and pray that you don't get oil all over the place, because you're pouring from a gallon jug. Never assume that your first pull on your dipstick is correct. Always pull twice. Okay, so according to this, if you look, I'm full. That is 5.5 quarts in. So we'll pull our funnel and set it with our rag. Put the oil cap back on. Now what we'll do is we'll take our open gallon of oil and set it out of the way, so when I start the motor, it can't fall in. So, it looks to me like about another quart and a half. One thing that most people don't know is the manufacturer intended the operating temp or operating range on the dipstick to be about in the middle. The high dot or the full mark is actually the maximum amount of oil that you can put in your engine before it can cause engine damage. They recommend that you put about halfway up on the dipstick, and that's full. You really don't need to add oil to your engine until it gets to the mark, the bottom mark, or the add mark. Says we're good. Exactly a 6.5 quarts. If you like my attitude, click like, subscribe, and ring the bell. You'll get notifications when I upload videos about this truck, my 65, or anything else I'm doing at the time. I'm going to do a how to reset the oil change indicator on a 2008 Silverado. That'll probably be my next video. So yeah, stay tuned and have fun.